Good morning, class. My name is Jade Conyers, and today we'll be talking about effective communication. Effective communication is a key required in the hospitality industry, but there are some different ways that we may communicate, whether it's verbal or nonverbal. But in order to communicate effectively, we should use the basic model of communication. So, communication is the ability to send clear and convincing messages to others in an open and effective way. The basic communication model begins with a sender who prepares the message for a receiver. That sender is the person that determines how the message is going to be received, whether verbal, nonverbal, letter, written, or oral. The message is then coded and packaged and sent to through that channel to the receiver. Once the message is received, the receiver decodes the message and interprets the meaning of that message based on the actions and reactions of the receiver, which is the feedback. The sender can determine whether or not they sent the correct message or if they need to send another message. But we also need to be mindful that there may be a noise, or what is called noise, which is an interference in the message being received. So we need to be mindful of that in order to know whether or not we are communicating effectively. There are also other barriers that may interfere with effective communication. Many of the problems with communication exist because certain words have multiple meanings, and there are also cultural variations. So as managers in hospitality, we need to be aware of the difference in communication styles, and we need to value each one in order to manage our employees. So just be mindful that there is a difference in language, not only a difference in language, but also a difference in customs and behaviors that will impact the effectiveness of your communication. So as managers and supervisors, there are certain steps that we can take in order to speak effectively on our job. The first way is to ask for feedback to make sure that the message that you're sending is received and understood. You can use a number of channels in order to deliver your message, whether it's written or verbal. Use a face-to-face communication as much as possible. Try to use a very simple language so then you can make sure the receiver understands. You also want to be aware of symbolic meanings of words and actions. Always reinforce your words with appropriate action. Remember that nonverbal communication does affect your effective communication. If you need to repeat the message multiple times and try to make sure that you're reading the receiver for indications of whether or not they're understanding or if they have questions. Again, that nonverbal communication. And just be careful to time your message so then you avoid sharing the attention of the receiver, so that you want to make sure that you're not pointing anyone out in particular. Okay, so in order to do all this and to make ourselves better, we need to use active listening. So active listening actually includes concentrating on the sender's words and actions and interpreting them from the sender's point of view without judgment. So an active listener is able to summarize and ask questions just to make sure that they are understanding the message. Nonverbal feedback nonverbal feedback through the use of eye contact and also head movements is also a good way in order to is a good component of active listening. It's just to make sure that the person is listening to you. So in closing, just remember that effective listening is a key requirement. And in order to listen effectively and to send messages out in an efficient way, we should use the basic communication model in order to make sure that we're communicating effectively. Use these steps in order to help you on your job and to be a good manager to employees in order to keep the passage of communication open. Thank you so much for taking your time to listen. Have a great day.